Hey boys and girls, we got a special treat for you today. We're surrounded here by the Slate vehicles. Now, you may have seen a little video that we put out a while ago when it was the launch out in California. Today we're going to get the in-depth assessment and all the details that everybody's going to want to know. So I'm with Eric and Chris, and they're going to introduce themselves a little bit, and then we're going to go and walk around a smidge. We're going to have a look at everything, and we'll give you as much detail as humanly can be consumed. So, Chris, why don't you start it off, since you're the flower in between the thorns or whatever? Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. First, Sandy, thanks for coming. We're excited to have you here today, and thanks for being a big part along the journey with us. And I know we'll talk about that a little bit today, but we greatly appreciate that. I'm Chris Barman, CEO of Slate, employee number 2. So I started almost 3 years ago. My anniversary will be coming up here in a couple weeks, and really just what drew me to being here was bringing an affordable vehicle to the market. It's a space that the industry has moved up from, and somewhere that to bring in a new vehicle that meets the latest safety standards, is very reliable, and for America, for the mass of people to be able to afford, we're really excited to do that.
Yeah. So, Eric.
Awesome. So for the audience, I'm Eric Keipper. I'm the head of engineering here at Slate. And Sandy, we just wanted to bring you in as a little bit of a thank you for the early work that we did. So I'm employee number 3, and I actually looked back earlier today, and I'm sorry it took so long, but on my first day, it took me until 10:55 to send my very first email to Munro Associates. So you guys were literally my very first email.
Wow.
And obviously we stepped into a number of benchmarking studies and things that helped us set up the architecture. When Chris and I started, we literally started with a whiteboard and said, where do we go from here? How do we take the vision and execute it? And working with your team was fantastic. So this is a little bit of a thank you that says, the work that we did really helped set things up and get us moving in the right direction. So
well, I'm really glad that you gave us the call, and I'm really glad that, I don't remember how many months, but anyways, you guys came down, set up shop in our back area. So we're going to put a little shrine around that, a little roped off area. Yeah. So anyway, why don't you, first off, you mentioned that this is a low-cost vehicle to attack a new market, but I see this as more than that. This car converts, and you can do it yourself. And this is an area that has been totally ignored by the auto industry since, okay, so Henry the First, he'd sell you a frame and you could do whatever you want. But it's been totally ignored. Now everybody says, oh, well, no, the children only want their cell phones. But you know what? There's a lot of children out there that do build birdhouses and stuff like that. And I think they'd love this vehicle to be able to swap things out. So 1 second you got a pickup truck, 20 minutes, a half an hour, whatever later. Now I've got an SUV. This is brilliant. So I'd like you to maybe elaborate a little bit on how did that come about, and that's sort of a really innovative kind of idea.
Yeah. So I'll start, and then Eric can go. So in the early days of the idea of this, it was incubated by Rebuild Manufacturing.
Yeah, well,
and they had the idea of this affordable car, but also that it's a platform for accessorization and modification. And I think that was part of the interesting concept that attracted Eric and I to this, is that it can be transformed. So at the onset, as we looked at the architecture of the vehicle and getting it to be the right size, everything we thought about was, okay, how do you make it DIY? Yeah. Because we also believe that younger people will be great to get their enthusiasm, but I think even older people are going to be excited that used to work on cars. They can only work on classic cars today, are going to be excited to go back and be able to modify a vehicle and change it into what they want it to be.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, for me, I'm thinking of getting into the taxidermy business as well. And after seeing your absolutely brilliant ad, I'm telling you, and we'll put that down on the bottom. You want to click on that.
Yeah, definitely go to Slate Auto.
That is the best marketing ever. I don't know who that person was, but they should get a gold star and maybe a little crown, or a couple of free McDonald's tickets, something.
Yeah,
Wow,
Ben
was
Whitla and the
brilliant.
team have crushed it for sure.
Yeah.
But you nailed it. So part of the demographic that we've been focused on from the very beginning has been, new families that have young drivers, and they have transferring needs as they grow, and the ability to move it from a truck to an SUV. And we looked at, say, a father and a son, or a father and a daughter, and being able to build that car over time, such that all of those accessories are easy and allows them to really personalize the vehicle. So and the idea is that we give that power back to the customer, and so I think that's something that is unique and really developing a category that's new.
Yeah. So I want to shift gears just a minute, because I know I only got you for a little while. So the model that you've got, so you could buy the pickup truck, and then as time goes by, your family starts to grow. Now I need an SUV and whatnot. Okay, that's a great model. How did you talk investors into it? I know you've got one big investor. Maybe you can mention that guy, and that'll get things off the table. But how did you? What kind of a marketing plan did you have to go and say, give us some money, we're going to do something that nobody's ever done before?
Yeah, so there are a number of American innovators who we've spoken to and are supporting us. I know the one that has been talked about the most is Bezos Expeditions with Jeff Bezos. The Walter Group has also been a great investor and supporter in us, General Catalyst as well, and in many others. And the way that we approached it when we spoke with them was showing them we had a truck to be able to show them as a base, and they were very interested with the idea behind it, and we would walk around that, and then we would adjourn and go up to a conference room, and during that time we would modify it into the SUV. So they could come down and then actually see a wrapped SUV that's been modified in the 45 minutes or an hour that we were talking more business financials and other aspects of the program upstairs. And as they would come down and see the vehicle, they're like, oh, I didn't know you had a second vehicle. And no. That's the same vehicle that you saw when you were just down here, 45, 60 minutes ago. And at that point, it really sunk for them that this can be done, because they saw it actually on a physical property or model. And much like that, we showed that at the reveal as well.
Cool. It was much less of a sell job than it was just getting people to understand the concept and see how the accessories can turn a blank slate of a truck into an SUV. And then we would have bigger wheels and tires and fender flares and different aspects of our accessory portfolio on the vehicle, and it really was that head blown moment. So
okay, you do know that that's not the first time that was done. Do you know Boss Kettering? Do you know who he is? Boss Kettering was the genius at General Motors. It's the university's name, Kettering.
Yeah,
okay. Boss Kettering invented fast drying paint. Okay, the painting process was 24 hours. Okay, he got it so it would be done in about an hour. So what he did was he brought one of the naysayers at General Motors and said, this can't possibly work. So he took him, he said, oh, nice car. Is this your car? Yeah. Oh, did you like that? Wow, I don't like that color, blah, blah, blah. And he got a paint color. He said, here, look at some of these. He picked one. They went upstairs, argued for hours about whether or not this would be a good idea. Kettering brings him back down. And he said, where's my car? Well, that's it right there. Well, no, it isn't. Yes, it is. You told me you wanted that color. We painted it. Here it is. Boom, done. Yep. Nothing works better than the example. Nothing. And this was brilliant on your part. I mean it sincerely. And like I say, Boss Kettering, that's how General Motors wind up with, they were beating everybody because they get a paint job done in an hour. That was amazing. Now we don't. But at the end of the day, this was the kind of stuff that really makes the difference. Show me, don't tell me, show me.
And that was the idea behind the investment discussions and really the run of show that we had put together, is making sure that, we can walk boards all day long and we can talk around a prototype, but really demonstrating it firsthand was something that we wanted to make sure that folks, if they're going to invest in something like that, we want to be able to make sure that they have a tactile experience.
So at the end of the day, I believe we're going to have, I just talked to the right guy, and we're going to get the B-roll of you swapping things out, hopefully at double speed or something, and people can have a look, because I think it was brilliant. I think that little demo that you did in California was just wonderful, but it was through a shower curtain or something. I don't know. Eric did it, but at the end of the day, that's the way to make things happen. In less than an hour, you've got it wrapped. You've got it turned a pickup truck into an SUV, and I'm sure it had doodads inside. I didn't get close. It was hard to elbow some. The younger guys are so aggressive. I don't know, but anyways, that was wonderful. So, what do you think if you had to kind of like narrow everything down to the biggest achievement, or what was the best thing that you came up in the development of this vehicle? What do you think it might be?
You want me to take that one?
You go first.
So the easy answer is we had to build the company at the same time that we were building the product, and which is also true. As we were going through the product development phase, we were also building the processes and the tools, and hiring folks, because it's a startup, right? So that's kind of the easy answer. I'll say the more difficult one is making the choices that we made in order to make sure that we know that we've got a product that customers will love, be able to personalize and make their own over time, and balance those against the cost objectives so that we can offer it at the price point that we know we wanted to be at, and make sure that it's a safe, reliable, durable vehicle. It meets all of our functional requirements so that we can be 5-star US NCAP, IIHS top safety pick, and make sure that we're achieving those. So, and we've done, and we're gonna do some other walkthroughs here, but our engineering team did a phenomenal job with design of experiments, with all of our computer-aided engineering virtual tools, in order to make sure that we did optimization around all of those things that I just mentioned. And we really have been able to put together a phenomenal team that's been able to then achieve it. So it's really that culmination of team and execution that really, I think, has been the kind of the proudest moment for us.
Yeah, so. I'd add on that theme of team, and Eric, as head of engineering, is very focused on the engineering, but what for me has been impactful and has been a big part of, who we've selected to come on the team is what ultimately we want is the right product for the customer, and to do it efficiently as a company. And this isn't silos. We are really all one team. Right. So the engineering team is shoulder to shoulder with the design team, is shoulder to shoulder with the manufacturing team, with the purchasing team on how do we get that right formula and recipe that we need for the vehicle being right, the design being timeless, something that people are going to be proud to drive, not, something that they go, okay, I can afford it, but they're going to be excited about it. Got to be able to put it together efficiently and effectively, and within our manufacturing facility, and we've got to get it at the right cost. So we've got to bring in the right supplier partners to be part of that. So for me, that's been I think something as well that I compliment the entire team on, really looking out for each other as we've been on this journey. Yeah.
So here's the big comment. There's always some genius. I like the word genius. There's always some genius out there that's saying, well, small electric car companies are pretty much dead. That's all done now. No one else can possibly compete in here. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, so I don't think they are dead. For us, it's finding the right niche in the market, and that's where we wanted to go. It's where, Plymouth used to be, Pontiac used to be, Saturn used to be, Scion used to be. Those brands have gone away, And it's difficult for people to find an affordable new vehicle. And you're probably familiar with all the stats. 55 million vehicles are transacted every year, 15 new, 40 used. Average cost of a new vehicle is $50,000, a $900 monthly payment. Used vehicles are $27,000, about a $500 monthly payment. And a recent study came out, if an individual makes $100,000 a year, they should, for balanced personal finances, put $400 towards a monthly payment. So that says, for a car. So that says even the average used vehicle is a stretch for them and their budget. So, it's coming back to and providing something that is in that space that can be, very affordable, but also is flexible to align with them. So to your point about the customization, maybe all I can afford today is the blank slate.
So what is the blank slate coming out at?
So the blank slate, it'll be priced in the mid-20s, or with the IRA credit in that, it'll be less than $20,000. So that starts to get then to a monthly payment of about $300, $350. It's within that affordability range for individuals. That the other stat I didn't mention is in that study of the $400 for monthly payment, roughly 70% of the United States makes $100,000 or less. So there's a massive population out there that's really their choice is to look a lot at used vehicles, which don't have the most recent safety standards, do have high mileage, are at a point where they're out of warranty and also can put financial burden on somebody. So this is an alternative that they buy the blank slate. Maybe they're able to accessorize it at that point in time, maybe not, but as their budget allows them over time, maybe they start with a decal package for a couple $100, and then over time they can go into a full wrap package, or they decide to turn it into the SUV because they now have children. So it's really going to evolve with them over time.
Well, personally, what I've been doing is I've been telling people that have asked me about it is that this vehicle is not like anything else in the market. It happens to be an electric vehicle, which is a good thing so right now, I have a Cyber truck. We have a whole bunch of electric vehicles. We have a Lightning and on and on. Yeah. Right now, you can calculate everything. And right now, I'm paying 1/3 the amount I would if I was driving gas. If you're, if you're young and you're watching your pennies and you have to drive a lot, this really makes a huge difference. And when people talk to me about, but every electric car company is going to go out of business, I'm going to say, well, maybe not, because quite frankly, this vehicle is not the same as the other vehicles. I can get in cheap. I don't have to buy all the other accoutrements and whatnot. And as I can afford them, I can buy them, and I can buy what I want. So I think this is, like I said, I've been around for a long time, and I've never seen anything like it. So I think your business model is that's what I was trying to drive at. What's the number one thing? Your business model is the real key for me.
You nailed it. And it's for us, it's customization, it's the personalization, the ability to wrap it, the ability to do the SUV, and then add anything that you want over time on your budget.
Right.
And the thing that is great, you can go to the Slate Auto slate maker. You can actually start to play with the configuration that you would then fall in love with.
Yeah.
And what we're finding is that customers do have very particular desires, and they can do anything they want. That's the thing that's great about the blank slate. Is it's not options, it's accessories over time that they can make their own, and they don't have to do it right away. Right, and they can fall in love with that configuration, and then get to it as their budget allows. So,
have you been? You need to go to the Slate Maker if you haven't yet, Sandy, because there's six stalls in the garage, so you can save up to 6 different bespoke design. You can make a truck, you can make a fastback SUV. Ooh. Any color you want, decal package you want. So
the open air configurations.
Okay, so we'll put that down underneath this little conversation as well. So we'll put a link to get in there. So that's 2 things now you got to do. You got to go to the the Slate package, and you got to see the
Slate
you got to
maker.
see the taxidermy thingy. So anyways, I know you got to scoot on out of here, and I do not want, I saw one or two big burly guy around you. I figure that's your bodyguard, so I don't want any of those guys beating the crap out of me. Anyways, Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I'm
It was
glad
great
that you
seeing
came.
you guys
And
again.
thank you, Sandy.
Congratulations. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. We're going to be looking at a slightly different kind of sample of what we normally go through in a tour. So this is what we would call a hoist review. And so Rod, first off, can you give us a little back? Rod's going to be telling us everything, but can you give us a little background on who you are and
Sure.
what you do and stuff like that?
Yeah, so my name is Rod Romaine. My role is head of vehicle integration with Slate. So basically, when I started 2.5 years ago, it was a small team. Our goal was to define the architecture of the vehicle. So basically the foundation, right, where do we start from? When we started, it was going to be a reg cab EV pickup that could be converted into an SUV. That was basically where we started. Right? Everything else was a clean slate, so to speak. With the architecture, we started with the body, how it's constructed. So there's two primary paths. There's body in white or body on frame. I think you're familiar with those. What we did is we kind of looked at those. We took our principles, safe, reliable, durable, affordable, but keeping in mind the accessory opportunities, DIY, ease of manufacturing. So when we worked with your team to get kind of the feedback of what's out there, right? What do other people do? What's the benchmarking? What are the costs? And then we put all of those factors into a decision matrix and looking at cost, looking at safety, looking at technology, looking at everything. And we settled on what's primarily a body in white type construction, right? So it's all welded together, but it's a little different. The structure's a little bit more heavier on the bottom. It's kind of like a body on frame, but still with a rigidly attached upper, but it kind of looks like a skateboard. We did that again to get our handling, ride, the characteristics of a truck, our durability, all of that was kind of incorporated into the design. And then that started the path for our team to develop the safety strategy within that structure. So that was another key input to that, is how we do all the load transfer and load path analysis for having a safe, durable vehicle.
Cool. Well, we're standing right underneath the front suspension. So why don't you give us a little bit of why you picked this and where you. I know one thing for sure, we couldn't find drum brakes. It was one of the suggestions.
Yeah.
I just found them, but we won't talk about making any changes right now. But why don't you give us a little background on why you picked this strut arrangement and
Sure.
things like that.
Yeah.
And
So
Eric, can you swing in here because we're going to be probably looking in that direction.
Yeah, so as you said, I mean, primarily we followed the same process again for the front suspension, right? We started with all of our requirements, all of our attributes, and we looked at McPherson strut, which is what we chose, but we also looked at independent, long arm, short arm. We may even add torsion bar in there. I don't remember all of them, but we picked McPherson strut primarily for it's a proven design, right? It's very appropriate for this size vehicle, for the intended market. It has ease of assembly. The alignment characteristics are inherent into the design, so it reduces the manufacturing time to assembly. Plus, it's also fairly easy to accessorize. Three nuts on top, pinch bolt on the bottom. Right. I can take it out, right, to support aftermarket applications and accessories and personalization of the vehicle. Also, you'll notice, and you did mention the drum brakes, we did look at disc configurations on brakes. We did look at disc drum. Drum brakes in the rear are very cost effective, but as you noted, right, there's not really a supply base that's widely producing drum brakes any longer. So within the braking system as well, right, we looked at 1-box, 2-box, we looked at all the different configurations for the brake system, and again, we followed the same process. All of the attributes, all of the requirements put into a decision matrix with all the options and technical solutions, and then settled on what we chose as the best for our customer.
And we did that for suspension, for brakes, for
Right.
steering, for body structure,
Right.
for the rear suspension, which we'll get to in a minute. Literally every single system in the vehicle, we made sure to go through and balance our objectives in decision matrix form. So
Right.
we took that architecture development activity very seriously to make sure that we were
Yeah.
giving the customer the right attributes, the right performance at the right cost.
And that's the thing I was going to mention. Cost is king, right? And if you're going to try and hit a car that's going to be in the mid-20s and it's going to have all these features, you have to have an eye on where are we going to, what's the most benefit to the customer. So I wouldn't pick anything else because it gives you suitable. I mean, this is not going to be a Porsche. And so moving away from McPherson struts into a long arm, short arm or something like that, I just could never justify it. But for this application, I mean, it is the best that you can get.
And we touched on the team earlier, the Dynamics team, the NVH team that we have here are going to be able to tune this and make it a lot of fun to drive. So
exactly.
So part of us leaning on the folks that we've been able to have join the team is the other side of it, right?
So our rear suspension, 4-link coil. What's most interesting is that the fact that it's a DD-on axle in the rear.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this went through, that same decision matrix process, right? We looked at E-beams, we looked at, again, independent rear.
Yeah.
Some of it, again, is the technology available in the market. But for our vehicle being a truck, a beam axle is great for load carrying capability.
Yeah. Right.
I don't have to worry about alignment going out,
Right.
right? It's fixed into the axle itself.
Yeah.
It's also fairly easy to assemble. All right, I've got basically five fasteners to my links and up it goes. It's very easy to service. It also provides an advantage for ride quality.
Yeah.
Whereas my EDM is isolated mounted to the structure.
Right.
So now my unsprung mass, so the mass that's not on the springs, I've separated those two. So from a ride quality standpoint, I don't have all that mass in the axle reacting to every bump in the road.
Correct. And also you're starting off with maybe a pickup truck and then you're going to move on. This will help carry that other type of application. So again, I can't think of a better way I couldn't think of a better option to take. By the way, I was looking at all this stuff. These are all soft tools, and I must tell you, whoever the tool shop is did a hell of a good job. Was that done here in the States, or was
we've got partners in every case that has done, to your point, soft tools for this entire vehicle. So this is a prototype vehicle. It's allowing us to do our durability requirements and testing, NVH testing, crash testing, so that we can then iterate into the hard tools. But you're spot on. The partners that we have been fantastic. The quality of parts that we've had from a prototype perspective, and it's every part, whether it's the steering system, the suspension system, the axle itself, it's all been fantastic. We have both a standard range and an extended range battery pack here, so it's 150 miles of range on the standard, and then 240 miles of range on the extended. And then you can see our 150.
Let's stop for a second.
Yep.
So let's put it into kilowatts. So this 75?
So 52.7 kilowatt hours for the standard range and 84.3 kilowatt hours for the extended range battery pack.
Yeah.
And then that ties with 150 kilowatt motor in the rear that allows us to do 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds, but we're really not tied with 0 to 60. It's more the EVs, as you know, the peppiness and the fun to drive you get in that instant torque and the 0 to 30, and that's really where you get the fun to drive attributes. So we're excited to be able to bring that in a really light vehicle. So just 3,600 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And Rod can talk more about the weight and how we're achieving a lot of that.
Yeah. So 3,600 pounds, and quite a few of the other EV trucks out there looking at within spitting distance of 3 tons, or worse yet, 5.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for anybody to believe, at least for me, 10,000 pounds to get me from point A to point B. So this is uber light in comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, part of that was design efficiency, right? If we
Yeah.
we looked at every part, could it do more than one job,
Yeah.
right? Then combine the two for efficiency. Also in the packaging relative to the weight, we were very conscious of where we placed components
Yeah.
for efficient routing and weight placement to end up
Yeah.
with a vehicle that's very balanced. So our corner weights are very close to make a very balanced, stable vehicle
Yeah.
that'll handle well.
Cool. So I'm looking at the motor. Can you tell us a little bit about your motor and gearbox? And I assume that sitting on top of there is the inverter, right?
Yep, it is. So the inverter sits on top, so it's a 12.44 ratio, 150 kilowatt motor. Our partner is JJE, and they've been a fantastic partner with the organization here in Farmington Hills that we've been partnered with in order to really. It's a plug and play motor at this point for us, so it's been great.
What about? Can you talk about batteries?
So our partner there is SK Own, so they're providing us the pouch module. So it's a pouch-based module into the vehicle, into the battery pack. So we have 5 modules in the standard pack, and then we have 8 modules that go into the extended range.
So SK Own is the same as what Ford is using, right? Yeah. So you've got a reliable source. I know a lot about their battery pack, or their battery cells, I should say.
Yep.
So this is something that's not going to have issues with fires and stuff like that. We're looking.
It's a known
rock
NMC
solid,
pouch that that we're packaging. It's a reliable, durable, proven module that we are taking and then packaging into the battery pack. So it's
excellent.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Well, front.
Maybe we can look a little bit at the cabling here. You've got almost everything. It looks, like really tight. So you've got the high voltage coming out of here, swinging around to the motor, and very short runs. And where's your charging? Is it in the back or in the front?
The charging will be in the left rear corner. Right now
Yeah.
on the early engineering vehicles, it's on the right rear corner.
Yeah.
But again, to your observation, the packaging and the cable routing was done very deliberately to minimize the length of the cables, because that's cost.
Yeah.
Right, where we put the modules, balancing them and getting them in proximity to the origin or the endpoints, to again minimize having a huge bundle of high voltage cables going all over the vehicle.
Right.
And it is North American charging standard, which is the Tesla derived standard for charging. So, and it is on, as Rod pointed out, on the driver's side and the rear.
Well, and the big thing with Tesla is there is a charging station anywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like I've been on 2 or 3 cross country kind of things, no problem. And the ability to get supercharging and whatnot, no problem. And you can, because after you've used up a couple hundred miles, you need to find a restroom and you need a snack. So
and we've made the decision. Charging is critical for our customers, right? So we've made the decision to put in plug and charge. So you'll be able to go to those chargers, plug in, walk away, and instantly it'll charge both the vehicle and your bank account. Right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So, but I think Rod's going to walk you through the frunk area and some of the packaging that we've done there.
So all the wires, right, we kept them on the outside. We kind of provided that space for the frunk to live. And if you look on the right side, it's the same thing. Everything routes around or down and below the frunk. And that was very conscious, right? All my thermal lines for my AC system, where my battery's at, even my ESC and my braking system. You can see the master cylinders on the driver's side, but my ESC pump is on the passenger side. That was, again, to establish those kind of planes of no-fly zones where it would enable that frunk to keep the size that it is.
And one of the things that we worked through in benchmarking in your shop was actually looking at other vehicles that have taken the radiator and tipped it down and back, that allows for ease of entry for folks that are bringing suitcases or other bags, groceries, so you don't have that tall liftover like some of the other EVs have.
Yeah.
So we were able to create that shorter
Yeah.
lift over in order to
So
easily get in and out of that spacious area.
Yeah, and that was
So-
one of the things that Ford did really well. I mean, you can walk up with your bag of concrete, plunk, and it's
Same here.
42 inches. This is even lower than that.
Yes.
So this is absolutely brilliant. And rolling it out, you can probably do that as well. Maybe not as easily, but certainly this is huge in comparison to some of the stuff. I mean, a lot of times you might be able to put your wallet into the front, and they and then they put a little teeny lid on top of it. Some of the cars that we've seen just recently totally missed the boat on this. This looks fabulous.
And of course, we talked about a drain plug.
Yes,
right?
of
So
course.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect for tailgating.
You can.
Right. We of course highlight that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, even Tesla changed their mind after we pointed out the obvious on one of the Ford products that that's what you need,
Right.
Tesla. And
We're working on
that
cup
was-
holders here as well.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So there's going to be an integration of that. Our design team has done a great job of making sure that this is all closed out and looks great and is also very functional. So
where's the kegerator go?
that'll be an accessory.
Maybe an
That's
accessory. Yeah,
Perfect.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool.
All
This
right.
looks brilliant. Everything here looks kind of standard. Can you describe, or because I can't see where everything's going, but how are you doing heating and cooling for the cabin?
So heating and cooling in the cabin, for the heating part, it's PTC in
Yeah.
the HVAC unit itself. And then for the cooling aspects, right, the same compressor and system that's used to cool the battery
Yeah.
works in conjunction with the interior HVAC, and it's sized appropriately to keep the battery cool during high rate charging and also keep the cabin cool. Very simple system, but very effective again for the customer use and the attributes we were going for.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things that we did work with your team on. We wanted a heat pump. We wanted the
Yeah.
ability to have some of that. But really, when we went in and studied a PTC system versus the heat pump and the ability to heat and cool the cabin in a simple, non-complex and inexpensive way, it really became the solution that we've got. So,
Exactly.
so again,
Yeah.
your team did a great job in helping us out.
Well, PTC heaters have their spot, and if you're looking for more room, it's slightly less efficiency, but I mean, you're just going to pull up and suck charge out of the out of a Tesla charger.
Yep.
It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking for room.
And we're going to continue to study it in our second gen and third gen as we move this architecture forward. I'm certain at some point in the near future that a heat pump will make its way into the vehicle, but as the costs come down. So
Well, as long as you don't, get rid of too much of this space here, which is glorious.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
You did a great job here.
for sure.
So can you give us a little background, like, full name and what you've done and what you're doing here?
All right, so Joe McCallum, 30 years in the automotive industry. What we've done here is laid out our low voltage electrical system out on the, we call Plywood Buck, but it's basically a table. So it's all the electronics, low voltage electronics without sheet metal.
Yeah.
So easy accessibility. We've done our software test out on here. We've done hardware test out on it.
Yeah.
We've done harness verification on it. It really allows us to test here before we put it in there and gets us more access. This was our first attempt at it when we fast, scrappy, and frugal. How do we want it? Well, let's get a table out and we'll put some sides up. As we've evolved that, we found that we do need to be more in vehicle configuration. So when you're looking for the controls, you know where to look for. So we've upgraded a little bit. This is our second Plywood Buck. As we're developing the software, we're finding and troubleshooting vehicles, we're finding the need for two, because we'll have one that's current, what we're building to, but then we're also a couple months ahead with our next software drops. So we need to have another test property for that. So.
Cool.
And again, the reason we wanted to share this with you, Sandy, is it's very unique for a company to have Plywood Bucks like this that are doing triage in a prototype facility. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that we're doing in order to allow the company to have that runway, and it'll allow us to be successful as we do go to industrialization phase.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this
and
to
it's
me
fun
is
to look at.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, again, you look at other industries. They do this for aircraft, big aircraft. They always have. It's made out of plywood, styrofoam, and cardboard.
Yep.
And that's how that, because you can't make the first thing you make isn't a prototype. It's first flight.
Right.
So that's very, very important to make sure that the runs are long enough and you don't have any interference. So for them, it's a normal big deal.
Yep.
But we don't see too much of this stuff when we look at prototype shops and things like that.
So one of the things too, we just had our wiring supplier come here too, so it's easier to take a look at the wire harnesses, and we're looking at optimization with them. Much easier to crawl around this than to crawl around there. So.
Copper's expensive, and I don't want to buy a lot of it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be even more expensive.
So
This is the best time to get rid of copper.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I don't know if you're aware of it, but when we tear cars apart, we've actually seen loops too long. They put a loop in it, just called it a day. So it's now double unfortunate. First, you're giving away a diameter of copper. And secondly, the operator has to put that loop in because no one would be able to think. So the operator will start at this end, work this way, and make his connections, fold a loop, put a twist tab on it, or a what do you call it, clamp,
Yeah.
Yep.
and it's just a waste of money and time.
And when we were in your shop, one of the things that we studied was different layouts of different vehicles and how you can have optimal electrical architectures that allow for those layouts to really, for us to purchase less copper. Right.
Exactly.
We still need to be able to function electrically and connect everything for software, but at the same time, there is an optimal layout, and that's some of the stuff that we studied with you guys.
Yeah.
So.
And anytime you've got excess copper, it's not a good thing. It's not redundant. It actually costs you money every time you turn on whatever, because copper is a resistor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to optimize everything.
Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the body shop, and Jamie Standring here is going to help us out. And so the first question I got, why paint?
There is no paint, Sandy. Our manufacturing plant has no paint shop. So we have the body in white, weld shop, but we're e-coating. And then the body gets clad completely in composite. So there is no paint. This is just straight out of the e-coat shop.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. I don't see any drips or runs or nothing. That's quite good.
Obviously, this is the beta prototype. So.
Yeah. Wow. So why don't you give us some detail on how the body in white is made, or body in black actually.
Body in black, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the key principles of the company is safety first. So the structure that we've created basically aims to be 5-star NCAP capable and top safety capable. As you are well aware, we did some benchmarking early on in terms of body structure, and ended up then doing a bunch of engineering to try and refine the body. We fundamentally have a body in white, welded body in white. Initially, early on, we were trying to do a bolted assembly. We didn't want the body in white shop either.
Yeah.
So we were trying to get sub-assemblies to come in and bolt that together.
Yeah.
We also didn't have a floor early on. We were going to use the battery top cover as the floor.
Like Tesla. Yeah.
Like Tesla. Over the course of about a year, we realized that we couldn't meet our weight targets, and we were struggling with our torsional rigidity and other things. So we decided at that point, difficult decision to make that far down the line, but we decided the right thing to do for the customer was to switch to what you see here in the beta form, which is fundamentally a typical body in white, unibody body in white. We're calling it the Slate board, largely because it allows us to change from the truck to the SUV. We've also incorporated lots of Slate accessory points. So there are weld nuts in the sills so you can mount side steps and the like very easily. From a safety perspective, we are, as I said, 5-star NCAP, IHS, top safety pick. So we had to look at front, I'll come over here. We had to look at front crash structure. The main events for front crash are NCAP full frontal, which is basically right across the front. Then you had the IHS requires the Sorb crash, which is probably the most challenging, which is a narrow offset crash.
Right, yeah.
So from benchmarking, we kind of looked at the elephant trunks, the Sorb blockers, which is this triangular area in here.
Yeah.
It's a fairly typical front rail assembly with, you can see crash initiators there to allow absorption of the energy in those crash events. What else?
Well, you can talk about the crush plate or the crush.
So the initial design had a steel bumper beam with crush cans. We ended up moving to an aluminum extrusion, despite the fact that cost is really important to us for obvious reasons. We ended up finding that by going to the aluminum extrusion, which is a much simpler manufacturing process, while the material was more expensive, the overall cost was lower, and we saved weight. So that was one of the key things there. Talking of weight, one of the challenges we've got is basically getting the range of the car, right? We've got limited floor space. The battery basically sits in the middle of the vehicle, and we have a limited volume. So we had to focus very carefully on all of the factors that influence range. So weight is one.
Yes.
You've got aerodynamics, rolling resistance, all those things. And we looked at that slightly differently. Typically an OEM would spend $4 or $5 maybe on a kilogram of weight. We looked at it and compared each of those elements to the kilowatt hours in the battery. What did the kilowatt hours in the battery cost? Gave us a different equation. We realized that, hey, aerodynamics is huge, weight not so much. Rolling resistance is a big deal too. But we had to optimize all of them. So in terms of the body structure, we've done something like 2,000 CAE runs in DOE's, design of experiments, trying to optimize the structure, make sure that we've got the right material in the right place, and take the weight out that way. You take weight out of the body structure, you take cost out, and it's not costing you anything. Okay, so the other aspect of this was aerodynamics in terms of the range of the vehicle. Again, lots and lots of CFD. We've done something like 600 full CFD runs on the vehicle with 15,000 hours of CPU time. So tons of analysis have gone into this.
I saw that they were putting on an end cap, but I didn't see the spoiler on it. Is it built into
in the beta vehicles? We didn't do the biplane. Okay. To save cost, we basically did vacuum formed single plane. So as we moved to production, you saw in the marketing vehicle at reveal, you saw a biplane spoiler in that. So fundamentally, that biplane spoiler will mount to the back of the cab. There's a halo that goes in here that moves to the back of the vehicle for the SUV. There's a panel that forms the single plane we can use in the SUV. And then there's a second bolt-on part that creates the biplane.
I see. So how long does it, there's a lot of stuff going on here. What's your reckoning? How much time do you think it's going to take to do this this body?
In terms of
In
time
terms
to develop
of
it,
times, yeah. No, time to manufacture.
Manufacture it.
time to manufacture it, there's about 1,300 panels in the body. I honestly don't know how long that's going to take to assemble. We're working right now with the manufacturing team and the purchasing team. Originally, we were hoping to bring in end items to the plant, so sub-assemblies,
Yeah,
so that the plant would have less welding to do.
yeah.
That's a challenge, so we're looking right now at the solution. We may end up bringing all panels in and doing the whole ground-up body.
Well, that's quite a bit of room. Plus, you'd have to have stamping machines as well. Which,
We're not going to do the stampings.
Yeah, we're not doing
We
the
won't do the stampings. We'll bring the stampings in.
okay, good.
But
So it's just the sub-assemblies. You'll make up your own sub-assemblies. or
Yes.
something. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Good. That's a great idea. From a CapEx standpoint, that's expensive. Yeah.
Right.
Eric,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you again for
This was
coming
great.
in. This was fantastic to have you guys in, and we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and thanks for watching Munro Live. Stay tuned, and we'll have more maybe in the not too distant future from our friends here at Slate. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.